Whereas we have some people, can you just jam it through? No, you're going to blow the machine up. But you get those conversations every day. Hey, you guys have been at it a long time. What do you think? We think you should not do it. And that is awful to tell somebody, right?
But if it's true, it's true.
Mark your calendars. The 31st Advanced Laser Applications Workshop will take place from June 25th to the 27th at the Suburban Collection Showcase in Novi, Michigan. This event connects manufacturers and suppliers in automotive, aerospace, agriculture, and the fabrication spaces. Enjoy 3 days of presentations from leading experts, cutting-edge demonstrations, and fascinating open houses. Discover the latest advancements and applications that are shaping the future of the industry. Visit fmamfg.org to learn more.
Hello, this is Dan Davis from the Fabricator magazine. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Fabricator Podcast.
There you
go. Joined by Lincoln Bruner to my right. Also with our cast of characters, Brandon Geyer, our technical producer. Gareth Slager, some guy that sits back there and makes comments.
Yep.
Today on the program, we have Patrick Brunken of Addison Machine Engineering.
That's
out of Reedsburg, Wisconsin.
Reedsburg.
Formerly Addison, Illinois.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talk about the move of the shop to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And Lincoln, you had a chance to go visit
I did.
Him recently.
It's great to get in shops like that because you get to see where the real action happens, and he's the real deal. What you see is what you get with Patrick, and it was fun to get in there and talk a little shop with him and see how they do things with their machining, and you see how machine shops have changed over the past 25 years. When I first started back in '98 at this outfit, shops were run differently. And, you see the new wave of young people coming in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's our first time we've talked about tube production.
Large tube production.
And it's about time.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting if you ever get a chance to watch tube mill in action.
You know what else is interesting?
This is a segue.
Yeah.
Tell us, Gareth.
What is it, Gareth?
The world's largest hex nut.
Yeah, I don't think we're breaking news, but this is news worthy of coverage.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know that exists.
You really think in our industry?
Yeah, I don't know.
So this guy in Texas goes and breaks the hearts of Slovenians everywhere with the largest hex nut.
We need context now.
JK Welding Shop.
Yes. Made a hex nut.
Yeah, world's largest. It's 16 feet tall, 19 feet wide, I think, or something like that.
Yep.
And if
the prior largest was in Slovenia, we learned.
Yes.
So...
And if you watch the video, it only took him 6 weeks to make this thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, only 6 weeks.
Wow. So the Slovenian nut was only around since summer of 2020. So it only rained for a couple years?
That's.
Oh no, wait up! It's 2024.
Yeah. The Slovenian one was about 12 by 13 and a half.
Oh,
which is no small potatoes.
No. Who else better than a Texan to break the hearts of Slovenian huge nut makers?
And the official name for it is the Big Tex, the Incredible Hex.
Big Tex.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's made for a company. I just saw that. For Patriot Bolt.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he just did it for kicks. Although, if you're going to make something like that, that's kind of neat, I guess.
If he was really something, he'd make the bolt that goes in it.
So anyway, we encourage more metal fabricators to make huge items of interest.
Of dubious value.
That we can talk about in the Fabricator Podcast. And if you're Chicagoland area, we promise to sit down with you and discuss your large metal fabricated object of interest.
Yeah.
Is there anything on your list you would like to see?
Oh.
Metal at about 20 feet tall?
Oh, yeah. I think a giant guitar would be cool.
Whoa, that's big. I think I would like to see a can opener.
The world's largest can opener.
Yeah, just like a church key looking thing.
Yes.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'm sure somebody listening will start.
I tell you, that's one of the interesting takeaways when you go to a trade show in this industry is everybody's cut a laser cut
can opener,
bottle opener.
Bottle
I'm trying
opener,
to say.
yeah.
But I've got one in the shape of an alligator.
Bring in a picture next time.
No, they're all in my refrigerator. And all I drink is canned beer, so it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. So anyway, on that exciting nut, let's jump into our conversation
With Patrick Brunken.
with Patrick Brunken.
If you're involved in the pipe and tube industry, you won't want to miss the Pipe and Tube Conference this May in Omaha, Nebraska. This event is an excellent opportunity to connect with industry experts, stay up to date with the latest technologies, and explore new business opportunities. You'll leave the conference with a wealth of knowledge and new connections to help your business succeed. So mark your calendar and join us in Omaha for the Pipe and Tube Conference. Register today at fmamfg.org. And now, back to the episode.
Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is a kind of a unique conversation for us in the sense that we're talking about tube manufacturing, tube related fabricating. We haven't approached that subject or broached that subject.
Not nearly enough.
Although you can approach a subject, but we're broaching it right now. So this is going to be kind of an interesting conversation. Since Lincoln is Mr. Tube, I'm going to let him lead on this conversation.
And Patrick, I'm very, very glad to have you in here for a number of reasons. Number one, you're a third generation and now into your fourth generation.
That's correct.
Family ownership of Addison Machine Engineering. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to run, to inherit and then run with your brother this business? I mean, what's that been like for you as a business owner?
You know, it's definitely different. You know, you go to work with your sibling and then, you know, and you have your other family conversations. And so for us, it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, we get along really well. We both fit a niche uniquely. You know, him on the manufacturing side, myself on the sales.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just been a nice, interesting ride.
Yeah.
Now that both, you know, my uncle's passed, my dad's passed, so it's just really him and I.
You and Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now your son, Patrick, has become part of the business as well.
Yes.
And what's that like for you as a dad who has spent his whole life in the family business? What's that like for you now to watch him come in?
You know, I think too, you don't want to be overbearing.
Right.
You know, what we went through back early 90s versus what they're going through today is totally different.
How so?
Well, the technology is different.
Yeah.
My grandfather was still alive, and, you know, and this is a guy that lived through the Depression and the wars and had a different mindset on business versus how we are today. The speed of which everything is going. So you don't want to overload and say, "Hey, you gotta know now." You just can't do that to them because you don't want to push them away, but you want to pull them just enough. And it's so hard. There was times we argued with my father. There was times we argued with my uncle. There was times we argued with my grandfather. You know,
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. I remember like my first day out of college working. You know, and my grandfather's just like, "Hey, you know, you got to call me Mr. B here." I'm like, "You will always be Grandpa to me," and I can't live with that. You know, but that's the different mentality back then to now. So it is different.
Mm-hmm.
It is different, but it is a lot of fun too. I have a good son, and it makes easier for me.
Yeah. I got in trouble a while back for calling a certain employee sweet cheek. So definitely it's a new time.
Yeah,
I didn't appreciate
definitely
that.
a new time.
I know it was awkward.
You know, where
Gareth has thick skin though.
Those conversations make us stronger.
You know, we laughed about it the other day. We talked about, you know, punching a time card, you know. Well, they don't do that.
Nah.
They don't even know what that
I was about to
means.
say, the
What's a
middle
time
picture of
card?
somebody like squaring
Right.
up against a piece of paper.
Right? You slide that card stock in and you
Yeah.
punch your time in. They don't have no idea what that
Right.
meant. My brother
Bring
and
it
I and
back.
my cousin were laughing because he has no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you give us a little background on the company, maybe starting how your grandfather started?
Yeah,
and
no problem.
Kind of tell us about what it's doing today and where it's specializing.
Well, my grandfather started, came over during the Depression. He was born in Columbus, Nebraska. And then obviously was a farmer, and it just wasn't working very well during the dust storms and depression. So he came out to Chicago, had a family member that was into turning buttons, manufacturing buttons. And he got into that. And then during the war, everything went away from metal because they needed all the metal they could handle. So they started doing other types of metal manufacturing. And then through the 40s and 50s, was under a different name, and got into machining, turning, got into doing roll tooling and equipment repair for the tube and pipe industry out in Maywood, Illinois. So just a suburb of Chicago. But south side of Chicago, you're talking a lot of steel, right? A lot of manufacturing.
Yeah.
So kind of retired early 60s, and then got back in 1965 and started Addison Machine up with my dad and my uncle in Addison, Illinois. So that's kind of the real short version of how it all started. But yeah, without him, it would be doing something else.
When did the company start building tube mills?
Started building tube mills late 60s.
Okay.
So we started with our first design, built, manufactured. We still, to this day, make everything in the factory by hand, by machine and assembly. So
right there in Reedsburg.
Yeah, and then just the technology. There's tube mills that have been around 100 years. Yeah. I mean, obviously the design is correct. Yeah. Just some little bit of advancement. So yeah, late 60s, early 70s, and then continued to do that to today. When
you got involved, what did they have you doing? Like when you started, hanging around the shop, what did they have you doing?
Well, I think every family member that grows up, your first job is cleaning the bathrooms. Yeah. Right? To this day, my wife loves the way I clean the bathrooms because my grandfather would come in, or the guy that was the manager would be like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. In a time when you're 15, 16, you have no idea what they're doing to you, right? Yeah. None. But, it's prepping you. It's prepping you. And then as you get a little older, you go on to the worst machine because nobody wants to run it, or it's a part nobody wants to do. And then you start with that appreciation of, okay, I get where they don't like what we're doing here. It's tough. It's a tough job.
It's the your version of the School of Hard Knocks. Huh?
Yeah, and exactly. And again, that's how my grandfather ran it. You're gonna learn everything down here, and I appreciated that. Now,
yeah,
when you're 15, 16, 17, everybody else is out mowing lawns or working in the mall or whatever, and you're in this factory, and you got to be there before 7. You're like, I just want to get out.
Yeah.
It's the worst job ever. And I think things have changed too. And the upper guys, the foremans or whatever, they didn't want to see you win. They didn't want to see you succeed. They're like, just keep that guy down there. But there was also guys that were really cool. But so you learn really, you got to move this, get on a truck, go there, pick up that part. And honestly, you don't think, again, at that time, you're learning sales because you're meeting the guy in the shipping receiving department. And he's like, thanks for coming out. And then they give you a little tour, and then you're bringing the parts back and forth. So at the time, you're like, God, this really is not a lot of fun, but you're learning.
Right. Even if you may not know it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. When you were working, when you first started out, how was the business? Were they making tube as well as the machinery they made tube?
Yeah. So at the time, we owned another company called Scientific Tube, and we were making small diameter stainless steel tubing. So growing up, you had the one Addison Machine who was making the equipment and everything else, and then on the tubing side, making stainless steel tubing. And early on, it was stuff for burners, gas grills.
All very small diameter.
Yeah, very small diameter, 1.5 inches and under. And then it got into heat exchangers, and then moving on into fuel systems.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that company grew in a different way than Addison Machine.
And eventually got out of the tube making game, correct?
Yeah, we ended up selling Scientific Tube, but Addison Machine still making equipment for the tubing.
Right.
And how has that particular business, you talked about how much it's changed. What has changed in particular when it comes to, turning tooling, when it comes to creating the machinery that makes all the tubing for everything you can think of?
Sure.
How has that changed at a technological level past 20 years?
32, 35 years ago, I mean, we're all sitting in here and rotary dial phones, right? And no fax machines to push buttons and to the first computer. The same has gone on with the machinery, old-fashioned lathes, tracer lathes to milling machines where you had to set everything up manually is now being done by CNCs. And the controls are getting better, the stability of the machines, and so on and so forth. So the technology is just exploded.
Yeah.
And it's continuing to get better. There's some things I'd like to see a little different, but,
We can get into that. Can you describe for our audience just what a tube mill does?
Okay. A tube mill takes coiled steel in a flat state. As it goes through the tube mill, it starts to form into a round where it will get welded, sized, and then cut off to different lengths. Now, you can get annealed tubing, and there's different methods of welding, but the general concept is there's a forming section, welding, sizing, in a very small condensed version here.
Yeah. And can tube mills form various diameters of tube?
Sure.
Or is there just a certain range most of them are dedicated
anything as tiny as a hypodermic needle to 40-inch pipe.
Right.
Obviously the technologies are different between each one. The way you would design the tooling for each is totally different. High strength steels, stainless steels,
So
everything changes.
For like a 40-inch diameter, how long is that piece of machinery going to be?
It's a city block.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We are very small when we walk through.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You can almost walk through the tube.
You can. Literally, you can. It's massive.
Wow. And so what range are you generally servicing when it comes to the tooling that you create?
So the machines we make, 5-inch tube and under is where we're known for. The largest diameter roll or tooling that we can do is 52-inch.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you do create that?
We do make that, yeah. We order the steel and we cut it down.
What sort of application?
Well, that would be for like a straightener that's making piling or structural, a bar that needs to be straightened. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do a little bit of both. So we're into that side, tube and pipe, along with bars and dies and tooling that would straighten those.
Yeah. So as a company that serves the tube market, how is the market nowadays in terms of industry segments? I assume automotive was a huge part of it. Is it still like that, or are there particular segments that dominate?
Well, there is different segments within the automotive industry. So when it's still oil based, right?
Okay.
So you're still having fuel. Yeah. So you're going to always have fuel systems, gas steins, exhaust system, frames, chair rails, doors. I mean, everything is being done through tube and pipe, roll forming for an automotive vehicle. It has slowed down a little bit. We all see that, but the future of it is just continuing, going on and on and on. You look in through here, all this is tubing.
Yeah.
Right. Everything we're talking in right now is tubing.
And you have, you were telling me in a previous conversation, You've got right now a huge explosion in structural.
Yes.
With all the warehousing going up. What's going on with that?
Yes, that segment is, and everybody can see it. Amazons are on every corner now, and they're 500 or 1 million square feet. Well, the shelving, all the shelving is just going crazy. Yeah. A part I think a lot of people miss too is that a lot of these buildings are being partnered with solar on the roofs.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Now you got 1 million square foot roof with solar panels that have
Square tubing. Yeah.
Is that an example of like segments coming to the forefront that maybe weren't there 10 years?
If you don't have your head in the sand, solar and wind and everything has obviously been pushed tremendously.
Sure.
But there's nothing to stop the structural steel market right now.
Are building designers, engineers, design engineers more aware of tubing as a metal part to be a part of their designs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So and that's where it's being driven from.
Yeah.
They come to us and say, "Hey, can you make this part? Can you make the machine that makes this part?"
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's an elegant way to design something that needs to carry a lot of weight, right?
Exactly.
It's got a usefulness that more people that I'm talking to in the tube segment wish was being designed around.
Yeah.
Right. They're thinking it should be.
And then they come back and say, "Well, this machine we bought in 1940, can it run this?" I had a conversation this morning with a customer. Can it run this? We want to push the limits of it, and it's like, well, it's not our machine, but, design-wise, can it fit? Sure.
Wow.
But you're going to have to beef up shafts or gears or, bearings of some type to get it there.
What other components of the tube mill has been stretched, as you say, of late? What are some other things about the machinery that have had to change with, more current demands?
Everybody wants speed.
Yeah.
Speed, if you can go from 150 feet a minute on a product to 300.
Yeah.
But you can't just say, "Hey, I need a new tube mill. Let's just pull that out." Well, if your welder can't handle it, your power coming in your building can't handle it, or the cutoff saw can't handle it, or your entry, there's no need to. Why upgrade the mill?
Yeah.
It's
not even a conversation.
It's not even in the conversation. You're going to spend over $1 million or $500,000, depending. Well, you got to increase everything else. Because you have a welder from 1960, 1970. Well, that's not only going to go so fast.
Right. And that weld box can only handle so much.
So much tensile strength.
Right.
Or gauge. We're seeing tensile strengths going up and up and up.
Has that been probably the biggest change in terms of materials that you have to work on?
High-strength steels. Yeah.
And what kind of stress does that put on a tube mill design?
When we run our analysis, so whether, it's our design and we'll put it in and we'll do the layout, or we run an FEA analysis to see where the strengths and weaknesses at what point, we're talking, a normal stand that we would make, can it handle those stresses? Where you would like to say yes is not always, So then that accounts for you need more passes, more stands, more tooling. So the machine gets a little longer. And that just because then it helps alleviate the stresses, the more passes.
Right.
Whereas we have some people, can you just jam it through? No.
Right. No.
You're going to blow the machine up.
The high strength steel, you need to massage it more. Yes. I mean, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you get those conversations every day. Hey, you guys have been at it a long time. What do you think? We think you should not do it. And that is awful to tell somebody, right?
But if it's true, it's true.
We would never take on a job that you would look at and jeopardize a relationship for,
Right.
We're fortunate, definitely, to say to our customers,
right.
no. It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do customers take no, or do they
Yes.
try to find somebody to?
They'll find somebody else, potentially. But it comes back like, hey,
You were right.
you were right, or can you help?
Yeah.
We get help,
Mhm.
and that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay too.
As a business owner, looking at how, looking at the demands on your machinery and backing up one step, what kind of people you need
Yeah.
to create that machinery. How are you coping with all of that put together?
One of the top questions everybody has today, right?
Yeah.
How do we get more workers? How do we get people in to work a machine when we spent the last 30 years, go to college, right? How do we convince, and we've discussed this at length in other places,
Yes.
the Gen Zers, right? Or the ones right before them. Why would you come into the tube and pipe industry and stand in front of a machine all day and make a widget part? Again, when you got your other contemporaries on a computer all day or doing some fun, different types of, it's been very hard. We, being very rural where we're at, is just, you have to start young. We start in high school. We're getting apprentices out. We're giving them opportunities to have an intern. We're giving them opportunities to say, hey,
Right.
You can come here. You can make great money.
Yeah.
There's plenty of overtime.
Yeah.
You're getting your health care. You're joining a family, not just my brother and I. You're joining a family of good employees that want to see everybody succeed, which has been tough to do. But, you try to foster that and say, we win together atmosphere. So there's not no competition, but, couple every year, and we're losing guys that have been in there, been there for over 40 years.
Right. So the tribal knowledge is walking out the door.
Right.
You're trying to get young people in to start building that back up.
Building
right.
that knowledge. Right.
How do they react? I mean, can you give us an example of a young person you've gotten in the door recently who discovered how cool it can be?
Sure. So we've talked, we worked with the local schools and communities, and we had one that was out working in a farm, wanted to be a farmer. And then something happened where he thought, well, maybe that's not the life for me. And then a buddy said, hey, these guys over here are looking for people. Why don't you come on out? And very highly intelligent kid, 19 years old, and, just starts getting it. And he starts getting it and getting like, hey, this could be the future for me. And I think as we all sit here, 30 years it's gone. You blink an eye, it's gone.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
literally almost like the story for your grandfather, right?
Right.
Coming from Nebraska.
Exactly. So it's fun to watch these young guys.
Yeah.
And we're all thinking young guys, anybody who's under 40 and younger, right? But
Well,
these really
I don't know about that.
yeah.
No, you're
these
you're
really
right.
young guys, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they are just, a lot of these kids are just hungry.
Yeah.
And they want to be treated well.
Sure.
So you just treat them well.
Yeah.
You support them. You give them the tools to succeed, the guidance to succeed, and they run with it. That's the cool part.
They still have to clean bathrooms.
Yes and no. But, my brother and I, we always say, we're not above it either.
Yeah.
So we're cleaning the cafeteria or, break room. So they know we have a passion for us as a group that, we're there for them. And, and again, and as a business owner, and it's not just the guys out there running machines, they come back with problems, personal problems too. So, you're trying to do more than just being an owner and
Right.
telling them how to run a
Right.
machine. You're trying to help them through as well.
It's a different atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have I don't think you would have gotten that 30, 40 years
Right.
ago.
Yeah.
Right.
The mentality wasn't there
Right.
for that.
How many people do you have working for you?
Right now we have 52
Okay.
between 2 shifts.
Has that been kind of consistent over the years?
We've had to increase up.
Okay.
We're probably up about 8 over the last
Oh, wow.
3 years. It's just business is just going on. It's getting more and it's getting more. And it's, so
Well,
we've had to invest not just in people, but in
Yeah.
equipment.
Well, a new space too, right? You're
new space.
You're just about ready to get.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we found a need, where we're at again. It's very rural. We've been able to expand as much as we could on our existing building, which spurred us into saying, okay, everything's jam-packed and you're moving a forklift to move boxes from here to there to get a piece in there, and then you got to move that back and over.
Inefficient.
It's so inefficient. Your lead man should not be on that forklift
Yeah.
10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So we went out and we purchased an existing building that we've had to really regut from the ground up. But what we're moving in there is all our assembly of machinery. So in our existing building, we're going to do only tooling and design of the tooling and reconditioning. In the other building, we're going to do all the machine building in there. And so, we're prepping the floors for the weight and the crane overhead and just getting it laid out properly and gutting it. So
How much square footage did you have, and how much are you adding?
let's say roughly 35 in the main building, and this one will get us a little over 10.
Wow. So when you're setting up like a 2 mil line, do you actually set it up and then take it apart?
Yes. So what
In
happens?
35,000 square feet? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you jam it in a corner, and and there's some machines that we have to turn on. Customer wants to see it on.
Right. Wow.
Sometimes we run material there as a prove out.
Right.
But some of the larger machines, you can't. I mean,
Right.
there's no way. We don't have the power.
Do it diagonally.
Yeah. So now
Everybody move away.
Now we'll have the power, and you're talking about a total of 400 horsepower machine. The power requirements to run that or turn the motors on.
A
Wow.
lot of juice.
A lot of juice.
Yeah.
So,
How close is the new facility to the current facility?
2 miles?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Nice.
it's really close. It's just on the other side of town, and
Mhm.
Nice.
it works out great.
Nice.
So we're about a month out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I was hoping to be a little sooner. We got a couple mills right now that we're squeezing in for prove outs in February. So
when it's finally open, will you have to do some refiguring at the original facility to accommodate how you would like it set up for tooling?
Yeah. So how we work now in most tooling manufacturers, you work in cells. So you got 3 machines in one cell doing, maybe up to an 8-inch roll. Then you got the next cell that goes up to 14. There's 3 machines in there. Then you got the next ones that go into the 20s. And then you got the next cell that gets you up into the 40s and 30s.
How many machining centers do you have?
Oh, boy.
14?
14, 15.
Wow.
Yeah. And you're not talking about small pieces of
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah. No.
they're
Right.
big.
I mean, you're talking about the tooling you're turning out.
What's the
Are
work
those-
cycle? I mean, what's the cycle to produce one of those things?
One of the larger ones?
Yeah, like
Hours.
hours.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
wow.
hours. And the way you buy the raw material in a round, right?
Yeah.
And then so it's soft.
So it's kind of is it mostly what is it?
D2 steel
Okay.
is the majority of roll tooling.
Okay. So like tooling still.
Yeah. So D2, we get it in soft. It's just raw material. We'll do all the rough turning. It's called rough turning, and then you have to send it out to be hardened. Right. So you try to get all the geometry in the holes and everything. Then you got to have it get hardened, and that material comes back, and then we have another cell that does hard turning. And once that material is hard, it's much tougher to get it. So you're trying to get the rough turning size pretty close, so that you're not
Within 10,000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because when you're hardened material, it's tough to do.
Well, that hardened material has to last for
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and you regrind them. So customer, let's say they have 5-inch tooling, it's run its cycle life, it can't run good product anymore. They'll send it to us. We regrind it or return it, bring all the geometry back, so then they can run it again. So then there's a sell for just that.
And that's a big business for you as well, isn't it?
Yes. So not only is it always new, it's okay. Hey, it's not making good product. Yeah. Send it in. Then we do an inspection report on it. We tell them everything that needs to be fixed. And then we bring everything back in, and then we send that back out.
So your machining centers are busy.
Yes, they're constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they could make an 80-hour day, we'd do it. But it's just not.
They're not making them.
They're not making them.
Yeah. So what percentage of your business is dedicated to tooling, and what percentage is dedicated to machinery?
I'd say it's probably 2-to-1 tooling. Yeah. Because again, not only is it new tooling, it's also
consistent need.
Yeah. Right? So in most companies, if we made the tooling, they'll send it back to us. I mean, there's other competitors they can send it to, but it's typically you work out a schedule. Like, hey, you're at 1 million feet. We come get it and bring it, get it back to them. And that could take up to a week, 10 days, depending on how big.
Yeah, sure. How's the competitive landscape evolved, say, over the last 10, 15 years? Has it consolidation been an issue?
There has been
international competition.
There is international, but I think in our industry, you get the feel of we want American companies, and obviously we can service it faster. There are competition, but through attrition, that company now is owned by a bigger company, and so on and so forth. And we're one of the few family-owned businesses still out there that are not owned by an investment group or somebody else. So,
and in terms of your customer base, are you serving other countries?
We do. I mean, we'll send some stuff into Canada and Mexico and some overseas, but it's usually because there's a United States company that's demanding that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you miss anything about the way things used to be done, or have the changes been a welcome change?
I think as you look back, you miss some of the stuff, right?
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. I mean, it was, and again, because it's a family business, not only would we work there, it was also sometimes our enjoyment as well. And we'd order pizza and play cards. Yeah. This is before the computers took off. And then
solitaire.
Right. And solitaire. But I mean, there was times that, it was the first time you get computers and you can network. And we would sit down on a Thursday night, we'd all order pizza, and then we'd all complain who would have the fastest PC so we can play a game against each other, So, oh man, that one had 4 gig of RAM or whatever, and this one's got 8. Just not fair, because you're playing a game like Duke Nukem or whatever it was back in the day. So,
Pong.
Just stuff like that. You miss playing cards at break. I don't miss the smoking everywhere. I can tell you. You'd walk in engineering and it'd be like a cloud. You'd have to crawl on your hands and feet, because those guys would be there chain smoking on rice paper, doing everything. I don't miss that.
No. That's the way the newsroom used to be. Yeah.
Exactly. So there are some things like that I miss, the break room. Everybody's in there for 15 minutes playing pinochle or spades or whatever, then back again. And then it was like the routines that they used to be in, but the technology today is just faster and faster and faster.
That'd be fascinating.
Yeah. And as we're older, you're like, God, I got to get faster. We're not programmed to get faster as we get older.
Right.
Right.
Quite the opposite. Yeah. You mentioned that your son is now, in the shop. He's a young guy. He's in his early 20s. what is his perspective on the business as opposed to maybe, what yours was at that age?
I think if I was him, and we've talked a little bit, you look at this place and you see growth constantly. You see, it's just a little overwhelming. And I know when I went to college, and they don't prep you for stuff like that, right? As much as you think, hey, I'm the king of the world at 23, right? 22. And you walk in and you go, I know nothing, right? I really don't.
Yep.
So it is different versus having a father and a grandfather and the old school mentality versus how my brother and I are trying to keep these young guys and him, the technology, the pull a little bit, but not so hard that you push them away.
Yeah.
Right? So it's clear definitions, I think, from ownership and or supervisor, what your job is, right? Mm-hmm. And the goals and objectives of those jobs are important. Mm-hmm. Whether that is showing up every day at 5 a.m. and making sure everybody's got their cup of coffee or whatever, to making sure you're buying all the parts for that machine that we're building, and there's thousands of them. Both jobs are equally as important, right? Going out, making sure we got lunch for the, on the days that we're making lunch, that's a goal and objective. It's just as important as looking at the P&L statement, right?
Yeah.
So it's an important thing. And I know some family businesses have missed some of that, but I think we were taught pretty good.
Yeah.
On stuff like that.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
What's the makeup of your workforce now? Have you successfully replaced some of the people who had all those years of experience? And no longer
naturally, though, after 38, 40 years, you're going to retire.
Right.
At that point, you're standing in front of a machine. We just looked it up the other day. So the longest employee right now is 1978.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. 78, 80, and then, all the way through. So I think we're right now probably 35 and younger is probably our biggest workforce.
Good.
Where we still have the 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and so on. So we got a nice mix.
Yeah.
We got a nice mix.
Yeah. And do the generations seem to get along?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of rubbing.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say.
I mean, come on. How do you not, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
How do you not? Like,
you're 46
it's always
years.
like, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Yep.
And I never wanted to do that. Like, go in and say, you have no idea what you're
They know.
They know, right? They know. And they're getting their information in their hand.
Yeah.
We got it from magazines and paper. So they're getting their stuff right away. They know what's going on. They know more than we do at times because they're more in tune. They want to know.
Right.
They want to know now. Instant.
Does it work the other way in terms of maybe some of your more experienced workers kind of not being as resistant to kind of learning new things and maybe
the quick and the dead, right? If you're
because
not,
everybody understands that,
right? If you aren't promoting yourself, and if you're not staying up to date with technology and getting better and not being stagnant, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah,
you're going to be left behind because somebody good is going to pass you. So the technology in the machines has helped because, old school tracer lathe to now, everything is CNC. And then even then, we talked about, it looks like an old DOS machine. Then the controls now are Windows-based. Sooner or later, if somebody's brilliant, they're going to put it in an Xbox controller.
Right.
Or a PlayStation. How much easier would it be to program that machine for a young kid, right? Or it's going to be an iPad-based, with apps and so on. And they're getting there.
Right.
The technology's getting there.
A lot of the cobots are.
CNC laser cutting machine, Fast Cut,
Yes.
they operate on a Xbox controller.
Yeah. They're getting there. They need to bring those prices down.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, it's getting to that point. So yeah,
Sure.
the older guys that have been with us, they're learning. They're getting there. They want to increase because that only secures them.
Oh, of course.
You know? Listen, mid-50s, we're still a ways away.
Yeah.
Right. Even in your early 60s, you're still ways away
You
from
need,
getting out.
you need to keep up.
Yeah.
What do you see as the advantage to being a family-owned kind of mid-sized company versus some of these other people you kind of described that have maybe P&E money rolling into
Yeah.
it?
There are things we cannot do.
Yeah.
And we know it. So when you come to those grips, like, hey, we cannot go out and buy $1 million machine. It's never going to happen. Are we going to buy the 15-year-old machine, 12-year-old machine? Sure. Right? And we're totally okay. And we will never compete against that. What we're going to win is on the people we hire that can make that machine run better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the knowledge in that. So, and then there's the family part where, hey, you got to go help so-and-so because somebody's mom needs help or whatever. Get your butt in the car and we'll go do some community service, which I don't think you get at some of these bigger companies,
Right.
you know, which is fun as well. Right.
Yeah.
And trying to be known as servants in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's cool too.
Well, in a community like Reedsburg,
Yeah.
that can only bode well long term, right? Where the
Yeah.
people come to know you as the good guys. Hey, you know, so and so needs a job. He's 24. He doesn't.
Right.
He's, kind of drifting. Maybe you guys could,
And
take a look at it.
And that's our goal.
Yeah.
That's our goal. I mean, it's there's something to be said for that kind of reward versus a monetary.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
goes a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, it does for us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Whether that makes us different, I don't know. But I think if everybody sat back and said, hey, you can help this community member, that goes way more than the dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Sure.
Customer base, do you have, how does it work out in terms of the customers you serve in the U.S.? All over the place?
All
or?
over the place,
Yeah.
from east to west, all the way in between, little small towns. Like I said before, everything from hypodermic needles to big structural steel to this, to roll forming, to doors, to frames, to you. Everywhere you look, there's metal fabrication going on.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere you look, in small towns and big towns, there's a mom and pop place just starting up, or there's one that's been there for 70 years. And it's so cool to go in and see what's going on,
Are you bullish on manufacturing in the U.S.?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
very,
Yeah.
Why so?
very. Everywhere we turn, everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Right.
if somebody's saying, oh, well, no, they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying.
Well,
Is-
nearshoring has taken hold across a lot of different segments.
Right.
From what I'm seeing, especially with the structural, especially with automotive, you got a lot of people saying, "Hey, this is a North American imperative."
You have to be. You have to be. We don't want jobs shipping overseas. Everybody agrees to that. You can't be that naive. Yes, big companies who can make it cheaper here, but there has to be an incentive for here. And if you don't, again, a mom and pop place or somebody with enough intelligence, and we're gonna go get that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're gonna go get that.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bearing or a drive system or something.
Right.
Somebody's going to go do it. But our outlook, what we talk about when we're talking to 100 different customers in a segment from oil to energy to automotive to gas and you name it, everybody's like, yeah, we're busy. We're trying to replace older equipment. We're trying to train our people. That's the biggest segment we're seeing today. Hey, can you help us?
Oh, wow.
We lost our guy that had the black magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you come in and help? And in some instances we can. In some instances we can't. And that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. You know,
And when you can, is it typically somebody else's equipment, or is it just too out
yeah,
of
or it's just like,
just
hey, we're machine builders. We're not
exorcist?
We're not experts in welding. You know, you need to, you know, they I think they want to go, you know, like, hey, click Amazon, give me everything, right?
Huh.
And it's not there. You're going to have to partner with us, with you and you and you. And we're going to have to all go in and say, hey, we all have to agree that we think this, you think this, this, and then let the customer make the decision then on that part.
Are you still developing machinery for people who are new
Yes.
to tube? Wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
We have one right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Getting into the automotive.
Is that a better
No.
customer to work
No,
with?
it's so hard. It is so hard. I hope they're not listening because they know
might
who
be.
they are.
We won't
But-
say.
We won't say. But
I'm pretty sure they're not
it is
listening.
a lot of hand-holding.
Don't say that.
What is this? What is that? You know, where you have an existing customer, they just give me the machine and get out of the way, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, you know, and we get that too.
all
Right? But the newbies, they're starting from scratch.
Can you hold my hand, please?
And it is.
Do
It
they
is.
have any idea when they get? I mean, obviously they've done the financial and
It looks so easy,
yeah.
right?
And I assume they probably went to go see somebody else's line and like, oh wow,
Yeah,
this
no
thing-
problem.
Yeah, look, it's coming out.
And
fine.
how many hundreds of things can go wrong
Oh, yeah.
from strip to finished product?
Yeah, and let's take the assumption you got great material coming in, okay, which is not always the case. Your setup has to be perfect, right? Or the end forming of an automotive part is never going to work. It's going to split and so on. If you don't have the right weld and you're not checking and doing this and that, there's so much more to making a tube mill or tubing than there's quality checks, there's inspections and this. And when you start from scratch, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you got all the ISO and TS and this and that, and you got to hire quality guys. And if you've never run a tube mill before, that's great. 10 years from now, something's going to happen you've never seen before.
Right.
5 years down the road. And then you're going to be like, you know, what's going on?
Do you actually, like in a case like that, work with someone who is actually in charge of running the line that
Yes.
has no experience?
Yeah, we do. And we
Wow.
do training
Wow.
to help with that. But our recommendation is always go out and try to get somebody, not, you know, whether you have to hire somebody in or what have you, get a consultant, somebody you're going to need there every day because, again, my job's not as to handhold you through the, you know, we get you the machine there and stuff, but your day-to-day stuff, I can't get a phone call at 2 a.m. saying, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
I build the machine. I don't show you how to run it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I
You know,
imagine the newbies are good for business, though, right? Like, is there a certain sector where you're seeing more
Yes
"quote
and
unquote"
no.
newbies?
No.
No.
I think you see the company that does a widget here where they're buying tubular product today and they're asking, hey, am I at the limit of making my own, control my own destiny? Because obviously you're going to strip suppliers and material 1 month is there, 1 month is there. Are you making a spot buy or are you buying a year out, you know? So you get those fluctuations where now then you're making product for yourself. You can control some of that. But there is so much that goes into that. You need water, you need all the welding gases and it's just so much to start from scratch. You know, is the floor that you're putting the machine on structurally sound enough? People don't even think of that.
How many feet of concrete do you have under there?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's so much more. And we're machine builders. We can only give you so much, but we don't, you know, we can't do that for you. You know, you're going to have to hire your own engineering firm and so on and go that route. You know, what we try to do is marriage as much as we can. Here's a list. You know, here's who you might want to look at for X, Y, and Z. And then let them make that call.
Yeah. How long is the cycle from first call to installation in a situation like you're describing with a new customer?
In this instance, it's about 5 months.
Wow. Oh man,
That's fast.
Yeah,
because
I
it's a
can't
smaller machine.
it takes a year, 2 years to plan a wedding.
Yeah.
You're doing that in 5 months.
Advantage us, we make everything on our own.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things we have to farm out, bases or what have you, but we control, again, our own destiny because we are one of the few, we make it in-house. We make it with our own hands.
You weld it, you paint it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of great. It's, you know, anybody ever do like a big Lego project and they come in and there's that book, it's like this big.
Yeah.
Well, it's very similar. Engineering makes that book. Everything needs to get ordered. Everything needs to then get assembled together.
Yeah.
So not just made, but we got to put it all together like a giant Lego.
Right.
Yeah. So that's cool.
So this might be a stupid question. Is there some place somebody goes to learn about tube production? You know,
They should come to the FMA. Right? I mean,
TBJ.
hey, I talked to a guy today.
Software.
And we just talked about it today.
Yeah.
He's an FMA member, older gentleman, and didn't even realize that you have these kinds of tools at your fingertips.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you get your head stuck in the sand and you're like, I don't even know where to go. You know where to go. There's Addison Welding Institute if you want to learn about. There are places you can go to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but I would highly recommend finding somebody who's run a tube mill before.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it just
Some
strikes me,
experience.
you know, back in the day, people would be attending a trade school to learn like die trade, you know, tool and die.
Yeah.
And, you know, it made me wonder whether there was a specialty program for developing roll forming or tube forming.
There
type
are, and I
tooling.
know the FMA puts on some roll form stuff and tube and pipe. I think it's tough because sometimes it's at like an eagle view
Yeah, right.
versus some of the stuff we do is just really into the, you know, hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
But there are tools out there. I mean, everybody's so busy. It's hard to say, hey, go home at night and read that article.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a white paper and they're looking at it going, you want what? Right? I mean, I just want to watch the news or I want to watch my brain numbing show because I just got my rear end kicked all day or all week.
Our podcast about white papers didn't take off like we
See,
had
no,
hoped.
I can imagine. I mean,
We
what's
just
so
read the
fun
white-
about
white
reading the
paper.
white paper?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it in
riffing
college.
on graphs,
Yeah.
audible format is not the best.
No.
Very small
the best plan
audience.
of attack.
No, absolutely
Very
not.
small.
I mean, again, our attention span gets you one page in and you're like, I have no idea. Now don't get me wrong, there are guys that live for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people you need to find,
Yeah.
you know, for sure.
What do you find is, as a business owner, as someone who's out there doing sales all the time, what are you finding right now? Most rewarding part of your job? What's the most difficult for your segment?
The most difficult, I think, like anybody, you go in and you made a mistake. Mistakes happen. You screwed up something. You know you're going to get it. So you got to be willing to go into those tough situations and say, all right, hey, I know we made a mistake. You may never want us in here again. We're going to stand by it. Those are hard, you know. Nobody's perfect. I mean,
Right.
and that's okay. We get it. We try to minimize those as much as possible.
Where the relationship comes in, right?
And that's where the relationship comes in is like, hey, you've bailed our rear end out multiple times. So then, you know, the ass beating is not so bad, you know, as we would say.
you get the
know.
mulligan.
Yeah. So those things are tough. Those are really tough.
Yeah.
The projects are on the cusp of what you cannot do. It's frustrating. Like, oof, we're right there. It's just out of our limit of being able to help.
Mm.
And then maybe you can help by saying, go here or go there, or
Right.
this is what we're thinking. The most rewarding is it's so cool to be out there and see people from such a diverse background. And you really realize how blessed, how, you know, small you really are when you start looking at people down south, north, the northeast, the rust, you know, areas to out in California. It's so different.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really neat to see the different mindsets of somebody in California or out west versus a Midwest person.
That's
It's
cool.
just so different.
Nice.
You know, and the guys on the shop floor versus, you know, the purchasing agent or the engineer that you're dealing with. That's the fun part, you know. Yeah,
Very cool.
definitely.
Is your son kind of seeing that same thing? Do you think, how's he seeing the family business, in your opinion, as compared to maybe how you saw it when you were his age?
I think he's walking into something a little better. Where we were at that transition stage of a 90-year-old German who was maybe not so willing to change to CNCs when they first came out, or even a push pad telephone, right? Now, my brother and I's mindset are go find that machine that can do it faster. We sent him and one of our lead men out. He was only 28 years old.
Okay.
Almost to North Dakota. You two guys go, and you bring that report back. So I think he's seeing it like, hey, you're here to make our decisions easier, which in turn, you're learning what those decisions should be.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that nowadays it is a little bit easier. And I think the excitement level is there. And then I think he sits there and go, man, I can't wait till I'm 30. Like, you know,
hang it up.
You know, like
go down the Caribbean.
I can't you know, he's out on a forklift moving beams in 0-degree weather.
Yeah.
You know, and we laugh. My brother and I are laughing like, I'm glad it ain't us. You know, I'm glad it ain't
Pay your
us.
dues, kid.
Yeah. There's a 23-year-old out there and a 21-year-old out there. It's like, have at it. Because I know that my old bones aren't going to do it.
Welcome to Reedsburg, buddy.
Welcome to Reedsburg, right. You know, so I think the learning curve will be faster because they are, I hate to say it, these kids are way smarter than we were.
I don't doubt that.
I'm not kidding.
Well, I was
There's some of the things they talk about, you're like, you're way great.
Yeah.
Right? Great. You know.
We got young people like commissioning machinery at your place. I mean, they're getting in that new. I think you have a new Mazak turning center.
Yes, we do.
And you were looking at, you know, looking at this young guy who's the lead guy and getting that thing running.
Getting it running.
That's
you know,
pretty
figuring
cool.
out the bugs. I mean, we had just gotten it a day before you had come, and now it's up and it's got a Windows error. You know, where we would all be like, turn it off, turn it back on, right? Hit the reboot button, you know. And so
Shake it.
Yeah, you know, and he's
Give it a
out
couple
in the
kicks.
controls, and he'll
Yeah.
eventually figure it out.
Please do not shake Machining Center. It
Yeah,
might
please.
fall on you.
Please don't, you know. But he's going to be out there, and he figured it out. You know, he goes through and troubleshoots. And where we would sit there and go through a 3-ring binder that's this thick, trying to figure it out, these guys are on the website and they're looking at YouTube videos. Hey, there's what's wrong. Do this. So the search for knowledge is fast. You know, how often are we looking on YouTube videos going,
All the time.
my wife wants me to do this. I have no idea. Let me go figure it out.
I don't know how to fix a dryer.
Yeah, come on. You know, so where they have that technology and they can get that answers a whole lot faster.
Well, it's got to give you some peace of mind, right? Like, I've got really capable young people in here figuring stuff out
Yes.
that I wouldn't figure out.
And we, as the gray hair group, we have to be willing to accept their answers at times, even when we know it might not be the best one, because there is a learning curve in there. But we can't just be like, oh, I don't want to say old school, whatever. Go run that machine, whatever. You know, you haven't been here long enough to figure. You know, go over there. You know, so you can't be that way.
Right.
You know, you can't. And you got to hopefully understand and identify their strengths and weaknesses. You know, you get a one child that's creative and has all this, and then you have the other one that's just got this worker straight mindset, like, you know, this is what I want to do, and okay, so that, you know, two different types of people. You know, and then we can't just take one and say, nope, you're going to go there and then you're going to do that just for sake of, learning, that might not be the best thing either.
Right.
You know, so I'm learning.
Right.
You know, my brother and I are learning. We're like, we were always on the other end.
Right.
Now all of a sudden it's the blink of an eye. You got fourth generation, and another one will be coming pretty soon, and another one after that. Hopefully, you got to be willing to get them going in the right direction as well.
Do you think that would it be the fifth generation?
Oh, yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I have a grandchild on the way, but you know, that's a long way to go. You know?
Yeah. They're not starting that young.
Yeah. No.
If it was Iowa, they could start
Sometimes
working
you
five.
feel like you know, like how long you been working there? Well, how long could you work in a shop back then? 12 years old,
Well,
right? Cleaning garbage, mowing the lawn, tuck pointing. I mean, stuff. You're like, what?
There are laws for that now.
There is laws for that now. You know, so
everything's changing.
everything is
change is constant.
Yeah, always.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Patrick.
Yeah.
Really
Been a
enjoyed
real
it.
pleasure
Anytime,
having you.
man.
And where can they find out more information about Addison Machine Engineering?
Definitely go on our website, ameinc.com, Addison Machine Engineering Incorporated. That's what it stands for, but ameinc.com. And just, you know, check us out. And if you need help, you know, don't be afraid to go to the FMA, right? Don't be afraid to get involved and be part of a group. The combined knowledge of individuals in a room is always greater than you trying to figure it out yourself.
Right.
You know, and don't be afraid. Go get that knowledge. Go search it out, you know, with this community. I would say would be the one thing I'd leave behind.
Awesome.
Yeah, go get it.
Yeah. The Tube and Pipe Journal is right there for you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Garrett? We're all right? Okay. Well, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, maybe I'm looking a little ill today. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know at podcast@fmamfg.org, or tell your friends about this podcast. Leave a comment wherever you get your podcasts. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Send us a note, and we'll send you a T-shirt. It's got to be a good note.
Yeah.
Not
If
like,
you made it all the way
hey.
through, you'll hear this.
Yes. There you go. All right. Bye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.